and hard didst thou fight, tarnished warrior.
Elden Ring is a very, very special game. A game that I beat not once, but twice. And even after that, I still just couldn't help myself but think,
wow, let's do that again!
Though not necessarily from beginning to end. I more so kind of just wanted to experience all the incredible boss fights again. And thankfully, with the powers of the internet, more specifically modding, the modding community, I'm able to do that. I'm able to skip right to the specific bosses I want to fight, and even grab some of the specific items I want to grab, like literally anything, and level myself up, just do all that fun stuff, and just get right into the incredible boss fights. Though it took me way too long to get all those mods to work, but I did. Those are the only mods I'm using, not like skill enhancements or like one-shot things or anything like that, no crazy stuff, just mods to get me any item I want and to any boss I want. That's all I really needed. I also have a mod to pause the game, but I didn't really end up using that for this video. At the end of the last video, I talked about how I wanted to end my thoughts on Elden Ring as a whole by talking more specifically and more in-depth about certain boss fights and how they made me feel. And so I kind of want to use this time and these amazing powers that I've been blessed with to re-experience all these boss fights while giving you my opinion. Now honestly, I wanted to do this on the fly, like actually play the fights and commentate, but there was too much going on and I couldn't focus on one thing, so yeah, it'll just be post-commentary central from here on out. But I'm ready to get into this. So first things first, we are fighting Margit the Fell Omen, or should I say Margit, the guy that makes you question your sanity. Play the game or not to play the game? That is the question he asks.
I'm kind of screwing the bag up a little bit. It's fine. I'm warming up. Woohoo!
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Alright, this is all the way in phase 2, so let's kind of go back. Let's go back and talk this thing through. I'm not going to give like a detailed, move by move description of everything that's happening in the fight. There are plenty of videos that talks about stuff like that. Pretty much what I want to talk about is why I love this fight in particular. There are fights I love and fights I don't love, and this is one of the ones that I love, despite me losing a lot to this fight. But that was the cool thing, I thought. This is my first Dark Souls game, and this is the first instance of dying repeatedly to learn. And coming into the mindset of wanting to learn, it's actually a really fun fight, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And that's a good thing. It teaches you that the fights aren't going to be easy, but they're going to be very fun. There's patterns here, but don't get comfortable because they'll switch it up on you in a heartbeat. And it's good. It's good. I think this fight is one of the most memorable fights because, again, if you don't like the game based off everything that you experience in this fight, then you're not going to like the rest of the game. And so it teaches you, how are you going to get better at this game, or how are you going to just straight up fail? And so that's why I like this fight. It's a beautiful first impression and a very good stepping stone for the rest of the game and rest of the bosses of the game. Because this is one of those fights where you beat it, and you learn so much from beating it. You learn so much from losing from it, and the lessons you learn from that fight translate to every other fight for the rest of the game, and it's great. You become a better player from fighting this fight. You become a better player from losing, learning, rinse and repeating, and you learn about pretty much like what kind of playstyle you like. Do you like being more all up in the action, or do you like being long distance and things like that? And just learning how you can handle each and every encounter in the game, and what makes you comfortable and what makes you not comfortable. And also just, again, not spam rolling. That's probably the biggest lesson this fight will ever teach you. But yeah, I think this fight is a beautiful first impression. That was my thing. Cinematically, it's great. The location is beautiful. And the fight itself, very, very memorable. And I think that also just goes to show, just even though you lose a lot, there's still something about it that just makes you go like, man, I still very much enjoy this. And that also will translate to the rest of the game. So I think Margaret is a great first mandatory boss, I'll say, because you can fight anybody. But Margaret is a great first boss fight because of how well he sets up your encounters for the rest of the game moving forward. And once you learn it, and it just becomes fun to just demolish him like I was able to do with this run. And again, with this run in particular, I got hit way more than I should have, just messing around with a build I never used and not having played in a while. But still, it's like riding a bike, you know? Once you learn it, it's just ingrained in you.
I shall remember thee, tarnished, smouldering with thy meager flame. Cower in fear of the night. The hands of the fell omen shall brook thee no quarter.
So the next fight on our road to domination is Ronaldo. I mean, I skipped Godric because Godric really isn't all that crazy to me, or at least he didn't really stick out to me. He was a lot easier than Margit was. And honestly, I really like Ronaldo's fight for just the epicness factor. Not so much for the first phase. The first phase is a little it's a little weird.
Little Carver. I'll soon birth thee anew, a sweeting, fresh, and pure.
Oh, perfect. Shut up. Yeah, show up one at a time. Shut up. Ow. Where's the other one? Whoa! Why can ow! Why can you breathe fire? Why is that a thing you know how to do? Where's your sister? Where's your sister? Where's she at? Where's she hiding from you? Ugh. Ow. Oh, the chandeliers are falling everywhere. Ah, the bleed. Give me that bleed. No. Ah, I was gonna try to hit it one more time. There you are. I'm gonna solar beam me. No solar beam, I refuse. Get down here. Renala is a very interesting boss fight, as she, along with Rykard and possibly even Radahn, are bosses that are more cinematic in nature and more gimmicky in nature as well. They're not your typical just memorize a few patterns and fight the boss like normal, like Margit was. They're more so gimmicky, like we saw in the first phase of this fight. It basically just revolves around you finding certain enemies that are hiding around the room that are glowing, hitting them so that Renala can fall down and that you leaving her open for attack. And you pretty much do that twice, which should be enough to kill her and transition to the next phase. Very gimmicky indeed. The first phase is really not that crazy, but the second phase is when things really turn up, and it's incredible. The transition from the first phase to the second, and things just go wild. I mean, there's a lot of the scenery is just incredible. The attacks that she throws at you are also just a spectacle. And again, like, besides just knowing what magic she's using and how to really dodge it, there's not a lot really going on here that requires a lot of trial and error unless you just get unlucky. In my opinion, it's one of the easier fights, but the thing that makes it stand out is just how cinematic it all is. I mean, just look at the giant moon in the background. Look at all the incredible, like, lights and effects that are going off, and the fact that she just straight up summons, like, a dragon and, like, some wolves and all that other stuff to fight you. It's just an incredible spectacle of a fight, and that's the reason why I love this fight in particular. It's more of an honorable mention. It's not really like I would put in a top 10 list. It's more of an honorable mention, but it's still a worthy mention nonetheless.
I dreamt for so long. My flesh was dull gold, and my blood rotted. Corpse after corpse left in my wake. As I awaited his return. Heed my words. I am Melania, Blade of Mikola. And I have never known defeat.
Alright. All the dramatics and theatrics aside, let's get down to business and talk about why I have a love-hate relationship with this fight. Honestly, after beating her twice and replaying this fight so many times, I actually enjoy it. It's a fun fight. Honestly, it would be my favorite fight, possibly next to Margit, if it weren't for two very stupid things. One, every time she hits you, lands an attack on you, or even a spirit summon that you have out, she will heal herself for every bit of damage that you take. And if it's a big hit, then big healing. That's stupid for any boss. No boss should have that. Like, not even the easiest one. Like Godric or Renala, anybody. No one should have that kind of an ability. Especially not a warrior like her who has multi-hit attacks. And speaking of multi-hit attacks, the second thing I hate is the waterfowl dance attack that she does. You know, the problem with that move is, the real big problem that I have with that attack is not just the fact that it's stupid hard to dodge, stupid hard to block, the fact that it will literally come out of nowhere without a single tell in the world. You have no idea when it's coming, no idea what triggers it. If she just feels like pulling it out, she'll pull it out. And a lot of times, I'll be right in front of her face when she decides to pull it out. And I'll be blessed if I'm far away and she decides to pull it out. That way I can dodge it effectively. But if I'm right in front of her face, what am I supposed to do? How is it my fault for taking all of this damage? And granted, you know, there's the strat, you know, just get a shield and dodge the first, block the first few hits and then dodge the rest of it. I should not have to change my entire playstyle for one boss fight. For one boss fight. It's one thing when you like changing your build a little bit to like better suit the fight, like maybe not use this spell but use another one, or not use this sword but use another one, but to pretty much use like for shields, for example, I've never used a shield. I think I did maybe early on when I didn't know what I wanted to use, but after that I never use a shield. I don't use a shield for anything. And so for that to be almost required, because you have to be prepared somehow for that waterfowl dance, or else what are you gonna do? That's just dumb. That's just dumb to me. And again, those two things make this fight so dumb. More so the lifesteal, because if the waterfowl dance hits you a lot, it's gonna heal her a lot. And it's stuff like that that makes this fight drag, because it's one thing when you get the patterns sort of down, because again, they can just change it up on you. It's one thing when you get it down. It's another thing when, like, if you take one wrong step and get hit too many times, you're pretty much back to square one. The fight drags on way too long. It's fun when you're in it, but if you're in it for too long, it's like, this is taking too long. That's why for this fight, even on my second playthrough where I tried to do as many fights as possible without using any spirit summons, there were a few exceptions to this. This fight in particular, because if I didn't, I would be here all day. And it's annoying, because a lot of the times if I were to try to be more aggressive than her, she'll usually get the first hit before I do. Like if I try to attack her first, she's normally going to hit me. I have to wait for her to make the first move and for her to screw up for me to have an opening, and that's annoying. It's so annoying because I'm going to be there for like 30 years trying to find an opening. Like there's a lot of times where I'm just sitting there waiting, trying to bait certain moves, trying to bait certain things out. And a lot of times, she will literally just do one move after the next, after the next, after the next. Like, there are times where I'm trying to heal, I'm trying to back up, trying to reset the whole encounter. Because sometimes, we can just reset and she'll just start walking around. And then that's when I heal, maybe apply a few buffs, and then just go back into swing of things. But there will be times where for no reason, she will not reset for anything in the world. She will keep hitting you, swinging at you, for no reason. There's no way to stop it. There's no way to counter it. I mean, maybe you can counter it if you can see an opening, but like, if you're lucky. This fight is just so unpredictable. I mean, there are a lot of fights that are unpredictable. I mean, it's a Dark Souls-like game, you know? There's no real predictability in it. But this fight in particular sucks so bad. It's just so long. It's so long. And besides the final boss fight, this is the only fight in the game where you have to pretty much deplete her health bar to 0, not once, but twice in order to get a clear win. No other fight is like that at all in the entire game. and no other fight prepares you for this encounter in the game. Like, one of the reasons why I loved Margit was because a lot of the things that you learned during that fight translated into every other fight in the game, except this one. You know, like, there's so many things that this fight unteaches you and has to, like, tweak around just for this fight and this fight alone.
Wait. The scarlet bloom flowers once more.
A lot of the things I learned from this fight, besides maybe being a little more aggressive, doesn't translate to any other fight in the game. Like, it doesn't. Nobody has lifesteal, nobody has a crazy swing around the world type of attack that she does, and again, nobody has like pretty much two health bars worth of health in order to win. There's just a lot of things in this fight that don't make sense. A lot of things in this fight that just suck. But again, when you get it down, when you get in a mindset of just let me just learn the fight, it becomes less frustrating. But even then, it takes too long. This fight drags on so long because of the lifesteal, because of the dancing back and forth, because of her having to make the first move. And in this particular playthrough that well, not playthrough, but this particular run that I was able to do, I kind of screwed myself somehow with using the mods, and I couldn't really upgrade any spirit summons. So, couldn't really have that as an option. I had to pretty much go on my own, which is possible. It's not impossible, but it just takes so long, and I don't have patience. I just don't have patience. And so, I gave her the old college try, but I lost, and lost, and lost, and lost a lot. Until, you know, I basically said, screw it.
Well, this is Millennia.
Good grief, he's naked!
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that cool stuff. I wanted to cover more boss fights, and I honestly will. I just couldn't fit it all into one video because this is already pretty much 30 minutes as it is. So I'll talk about the rest in another video. I want to talk more in depth about who's it, Moog and Dragon Lord Boy, and I could talk a little bit about my experience with Rykard as a nice honorable mention. But yeah, those are the last 3 that I really have like opinions on. Not to say like I don't like the other fights. I could talk about Radahn also if I have time for it, but that's really it. Those are the only bosses that really left an impression on me. And not to say the other ones were bad, but again, those are just my personal favorites for multitude of reasons that I will talk about. And so, yeah, that'll probably be the next video on the pipeline, if not possibly some Final Fantasy or some type of related video beforehand. But yeah, thank you guys so much again for watching. That video will probably be out sometime next week, and I will see you guys when I see you. Thanks for tuning in to Ronin Black TV, and I'll catch you on the next one.